Hey, good afternoon to you. It is 5:07 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up on the show, we've got Lynne Patton joining us. She is spokeswoman for the Trump campaign, a senior advisor. She'll be here at 5:30. We'll get the latest from her on the president's big rally yesterday in the Bronx and what comes next. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. If you have followed conservative media for any length of time, the organization Media Matters may have been mentioned at some point along the way. Certainly, the late, great Rush Limbaugh used to speak at length about this organization. It's a lefty group with massive amounts of funding, at least at its inception, from George Soros, founded by a guy called David Brock. And it has dedicated itself to the destruction of any sort of, realistic news media. So if you're in the business of telling the truth, you are within their sights. They're looking to take you down. And a lot of this was focused on trying to destroy Rush Limbaugh while he was alive. And then also they at one point had declared war on the Fox News channel broadly. And ever since then, they've just kind of always been just attack dogs on behalf of the left, looking to truly stop any alternative viewpoints from getting through besides the lefty legacy media talking points. And they are in a lot of trouble this week, which is a subject of a lot of schadenfreude on the right, because Media Matters, here's the headline over at the Daily Caller, Media Matters has laid off a dozen staffers following a federal probe and a lawsuit by Elon Musk. Media Matters has followed suit with several liberal outlets now by laying off at least a dozen of their staffers following a federal probe and a lawsuit by ex-chief executive officer Elon Musk. Staffers, some of whom have been with Media Matters for years, took to social media announcing their sudden departure from the outlet. The layoffs followed federal probes filed by Republican Attorneys General Ken Paxton of Texas and Andrew Bailey of Missouri into the outlet for possible fraudulent activity by allegedly manipulating data on X, formerly known as Twitter. Musk filed a defamation suit against Media Matters in federal court in November as the site accused the outlet of knowingly manufacturing images showing advertisements from major corporations alongside posts that were made by white supremacists and neo-Nazis. So Musk is accusing Media Matters of literally inventing a scandal meant to take down a free speech platform. The end result? They're laying off the people who work there, the activists. For more on this, let me bring in Kurt Schlichter now. He's excellent at dancing on lefty graves. He's a Townhall Senior columnist and a retired infantry Army colonel as well. Kurt, good to have you with us, sir.
Hey, that popping sound you hear is a champagne cork. This couldn't happen to a nicer crowd of degenerates, weirdos, losers, and mutations. I'm just ecstatic to see them suffer. It's wonderful.
Yeah, this is an organization that's been around since the early 2000s. It has dedicated its life to the destruction of conservatives, and now they're suffering, and they'd like our sympathy, Kurt.
Yeah, a fat chance, which is coincidentally most of them are kind of fat. I've had Media Matters come after me. They called me a giant. They essentially accused me of being a white nationalist, whatever that is. And I can't tell you how surprised my Hispanic immigrant wife of 20 years was to hear it.
Mm-hmm. So it turns out it was false?
Yeah, it was just, it's just wonderful to see them suffer. And, Vince, too many conservatives are like, well, I don't want to take pleasure in the misery of others. I do. They're my enemies. I want them to lose. And I not only want them to lose, I want them to suffer as they lose. I want them to curse my name down to 10 generations because of the joy I'm going to show in their pain.
Yeah.
There's a word for this. It's called justice. They're bad people, and when bad things happen to bad people, the universe smiles.
Yeah, this is not. We would often laugh about the ridiculous Media Matters attacks and clips through the years. Sometimes conservatives would even share them. Thank you for helping cover this important thing I said on television or radio. But the reality is that this is an organization that has wielded some real influence among the stupid lefty outlets that have distorted America. Years ago, I did some reporting with Tucker Carlson over a decade now ago. In fact, it's going on 14 years practically. On how Media Matters was involved in essentially writing the primetime lineup at MSNBC, that they were involved in hand feeding these various columnists, including at places like the Washington Post, the things that they should write about and will write about, and they did, sure enough. And so this organization has definitely wielded some influence on the left, and it has not made America better, that's for sure.
No, it's made it much, much worse. And, what's beautiful about the renaissance of conservative media and, this bolt from the blue where Elon Musk bought Twitter and turned it into a free speech platform.
Yes.
See, Media Matters can only operate in a hothouse environment where it's the only voice. It can't operate in a battlefield of ideas where there are people ready, willing, and able to hold it accountable for its scummy behavior. I mean, this stuff that Elon Musk is suing them for, which is essentially manipulating algorithms to falsely create a impression that major businesses are somehow being affiliated with unsavory people. I mean, this is classic tortious interference.
Yes.
Which you can sue people. As a lawyer, I handle these kind of cases. And I don't think it ever occurred to them that the law applied to them too. But now, fortunately, we have a number of state governments under red control, Missouri, Texas, and they're using consumer laws to go against these folks, to hold them accountable. And I'm all for it. I mean, look, I didn't used to think lawfare was the way forward. I was against that new rule.
Sure.
I thought it was generally a bad idea. But you know what? I was outvoted. Everybody else decided to have a different rule. So now we've got a new rule, and they're going to take it good and hard.
Yeah, I'm glad about Elon Musk for sure. But could you imagine if our side had 2 billionaires? What that would do? Wouldn't that be great? Right now, apparently, we just have one. So for over the years, we've included the Koch brothers from time to time, but they're not that great because they're kind of open borders guys. They're not technically on our side on a really important issue. What would it be like if there were like maybe 2 or 3 billionaires who cared about America and wanted to help us out?
I wish, but they're the dumbest people in society are the leftists and large Republican donors. I don't know why when your net worth enters 8 figures, your IQ seems to drop dramatically. You've got all these rich Republican guys, and there's so much they could do to have such a great effect. Buy a newspaper, invest in movies. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's some guy out there with great conservative intellectual property content out there from best-selling books that I don't know, named Kurt Schlichter, who could use somebody buying his books and make him into movies. But instead, you got these guys, and they're like, well, I think I'll write a $5 million check to the Eagle Forum for Families and Eagles and Forums and Freedom and Liberty, and also Eagles and Forums for a white paper on the importance of the Federal Reserve. Good Lord. It's remarkable that these guys can find their shoes in the morning, much less become multi-billionaires. Yeah,
we've lost so much traction in so many ways. It'd be helpful if we were all kind of rowing in the same direction. As far as the left's money is concerned, so Media Matters is firing people. They're laying people off. So what does this mean to you? I imagine it's one of 2 scenarios. One, the left is realizing that the right has become so effective that this Media Matters stuff is just garbage. It's not going to work anymore. Or 2, and probably more likely, they realize that the litigation threat to Media Matters is so profound, they're just going to move their money somewhere else that doesn't have the lawsuit risk.
I think it's both. You've got Elon Musk, who's got very good lawyers. Hell, he should hire me to go after these degenerates. But, the other thing is, they're not as effective. When I found out that Media Matters was firing people, of course, I went on and I commented, "You suck. This is great. I despise you." To all the little minions who did it. But I also went and got a screenshot of my little page there where, they say bad, mean things about me. I screenshot it and sent it out and say, I'm Media Matters approved. I'm still here. I'm still writing for money. You guys are asking people if they want to supersize it. You suck. It has become a badge of honor. I wear my the contempt of media matters like I wear my Army medals.
Yeah, with pride, with pride, as you should. Hey, let me move to President Trump now. Speaking of money, it's interesting because here's a guy who is he's doing good on fundraising now, but he hasn't really needed to spend a lot of money on this campaign. Most of his money's had to be spent on legal expenses, but in some sense, it's money well spent because he is just skyrocketing in the polls as the left tries to persecute this guy. He had this massive rally in the Bronx, so travel expenses were low yesterday for a huge rally that he was able to hold and got a lot of earned media as a result. What do you think of the way that of Donald Trump is campaigning right now as he heads towards a likely second term?
I always try and evaluate my opponents objectively. For instance, I would tell you that one of the greatest political actors of the last 100 years is Bill Clinton. And I got no use for Bill Clinton, but he connected with people in a way.
Right.
People don't see that Donald Trump is really a genius of PR. And I know that's kind of a cliche, but he really has an understanding of how to make contact, how to connect with people, how to send out his message. And he has turned what they thought, hey, we're going to lock him in a courtroom and he's going to be a convicted felon and no one's going to like him. And Trump has completely turned it around, If he is convicted next week, and I think he will be because the entire trial is a total sham on every level, he's going to become more popular. Mark my words, his popularity will increase, and even as, that desiccated old husk of a semi-human being masquerading as our president calls him, convicted felon Donald Trump, it's going to bounce off. It's going to actually help Donald Trump because people are going to see that they want to take him out unfairly.
Totally right. In fact, my view, as I was saying earlier in the program, is no matter what happens next week, as a political matter in the eyes of the voters, it's good news for Trump.
Yep. No, there's no way to lose. He's acquitted. They're humiliated. It hangs. They're humiliated. He gets convicted. He becomes a martyr. And everybody knows this is a lie and a scam. Everybody knows it except the idiots on Twitter. By the way, if there is a lawyer on Twitter who is not named Kurt Schlichter or approved by Kurt Schlichter, that person is presumptively a clinical moron. Okay, Twitter is the home to the dumbest legal takes. You got the law professors who haven't been in a courtroom for 40 years. You got half-wits, morons, losers, and throwbacks, and they're always wrong. Come to Kurt Schlichter or Kurt Schlichter-approved lawyers on Twitter to get the right answers. And this is just a disaster.
I love that. And if you'd like access to the Kurt Schlichter-approved list of lawyers, please get in touch with Kurt, and he will give you his Venmo, and then you'll be able to take care of that. Thank you very much, Kurt. Hustling up business with us today for everything from billionaires to having Elon Musk hire you as an attorney too. I love that one too. Thank you, Kurt. Good to talk to you, sir.
Got to make money. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you heard me mention with Kurt Schlichter. It was a long time ago now. It was 2012, so it would have been 12 years ago. I did a report for the Daily Caller on Media Matters. We did a series of stories on that left-wing organization, which was, targeting conservative media, trying to destroy people in conservative media, now suffering as a result of overextending themselves against Elon Musk. Apparently, they made a stupid mistake. They went after the wrong guy, and now they're laying off a bunch of people. I guess they can't handle the lawsuits. But during that reporting, so many interesting things happened. Well, one, it was fun to do I was working for Tucker Carlson at the time, and we did the story together. We did the series together. That was a blast working with Tucker on that. And among the things we discovered is that David Brock, the founder of Media Matters, he had an aide by the name of Hayden Price Morris, this executive aide of his, executive assistant, that's what I mean to say, who was carrying a Glock around the office. He was carrying a gun illegally inside the office, and it freaked the staff out when they found out. And the reason for this is because Brock apparently is deeply paranoid and was afraid of assassination threats around every corner, was concerned that there were snipers waiting on roofs nearby. They're going to take him out. And so he had this armed aide who was walking around with him, who was in no position to carry a gun whatsoever, carrying a gun in Washington, D.C., highly illegal for that to be happening. And they were doing it. And that's, of course, this is a lefty organization, bankrolled by George Soros. And they're super anti-gun, and nobody should have a gun. And, of course, they're, like, illegally carrying guns around in Washington, D.C. And that caused a stir. And I remember they did not want to talk about any of this. They were locking down. They're like, how the heck is any of this getting out there? It was a total blast to do that story. And at the time, Andrew Breitbart, the late, great Andrew Breitbart, was still alive. And one of my prized possessions is I printed out a tweet of his. And he tweeted during that story, he wrote, "Kudos to Tucker Carlson and Vince Coglianese on the Daily Caller's magnificent Media Matters expose. That David Brock is quite paranoid," he wrote on Twitter. So I printed it out and I framed it after he died, actually. After he died, I printed it out and framed it. I got to save that as a memento. Just how cool that is. It's the old Twitter design long ago when Andrew Breitbart was on there. There's a picture. Andrew Breitbart's face is, I'm not sure if his Twitter account still looks like this, but it's just a piece of toast with his face on it. There was some sort of weird viral story at the time about people seeing images on toast. And so he made his Twitter avatar a piece of toast with his face on it. Anyway, I value it. It's pretty great. It involves Media Matters, and they are rightly suffering today. I'm so glad Kurt Schlichter stopped by to emphasize that. Hey, coming up, Lynne Patton's going to be with us. She's with the Trump campaign, and that's good because I have questions for them. That's ahead. Hey, good afternoon to you. It is 5:35 here at News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. President Trump in the Bronx last night.
Everybody had the best they've ever had. African American jobs were the best in history. Asian American, the best in history. Hispanic, the best in history. Women, people with a diploma, people without a diploma, people that went to the great Wharton School of Finance, MIT, Harvard, they were doing better. And the people that didn't have a high school diploma were having the best. Everybody was better. There wasn't one group, not one, that went down. And it was bringing our country together.
President Trump,
it can happen.
Reminding people of how much better things were 4 years ago. CBS among the news outlets who were shocked by what they saw.
What else really stood out to you about the rally?
I will say this rally did look a lot like America. There was a lot of Asian voters there. There were a lot of Hispanic voters, a lot of black voters there, which is not typical for a Trump rally that I go to when I'm in Wisconsin or Michigan. Yeah. So that's what was fascinating.
But it is a cross-section of New York.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the media finally noticing it because it was close to where they go to work. Joining us now, Lynne Patton is on the phone. She is a senior advisor to former President Trump, perhaps future President Trump, and a finance director of the Patriot Legal Defense Fund as well. Lynne, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Vince. Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Same to you. What are we to make of that big rally yesterday in the Bronx? And is there a final head count from the Trump campaign on how many people showed?
It was epic. It was amazing. The energy was electric. And yes, the capacity of the facility was 3,500. We ended up pre-selling almost 10,000 tickets. We believe the final count was somewhere around 20,000, if not more.
Yeah. Yeah, so a huge, huge turnout. Are you amazed in any way by the media, kind of being stunned today? I noticed a number of stories where the press seems to be just floored by what they saw in an area where they thought only Democrats would be there. How could they possibly support Trump?
Right, absolutely. The line snaked around through the park. AOC that morning had said that it was raining, Bronxites weren't going to show up, that God didn't even want Trump in the Bronx. But by noon, the clouds had parted, and, nobody could keep people away. We did an extremely micro-targeted outreach to the community, specifically in the Bronx. The Bodega Association had just endorsed Trump not too long ago. They were distributing flyers with QR codes for voter registration across the Bronx in all different kinds of venues and bodegas, grocery stores. And honestly, at the end of the day, Trump has been a cultural icon in the minority community for decades. He kind of conveys an aspiration. You know, when you counter that to Biden's speech at Morehouse, which was basically an appeal to victimhood, Trump's pitch is about opportunity, a better life. And everybody knows that they were better with Trump, they were richer with Trump, they were safer with Trump, they were stronger with Trump. And they know that he's the only candidate that can do it again.
You just said something, you said a lot of things that interest me, but one thing that really stood out was that you micro-targeted the invites for the event yesterday, which is really smart because obviously the media were crawling all over this thing trying to disprove its authenticity. But what they weren't able to do is show that there were a bunch of out-of-town ringers brought in for this. In fact, instead, these people were local. These people actually lived in this community.
They were, and not only did we micro-target the audience, but we actually had speakers at the pre-show who were from the Bronx. One was a woman named Madeline Graham. Somebody had sent me a clip of her going viral with a speech she gave about last week around, like, in a sort of anticipation of the Bronx rally. And the things she was saying were just right on the money. You know, the fact that illegal immigration is taking over their neighborhoods, that you know, obviously the highest inflation in U.S. history has really crippled a lot of families. But most importantly, her son served 2 tours in Afghanistan only to come back and get murdered in Harlem. You know, even worse, when Alvin Bragg took office, he reduced the sentence of 2 of the perpetrators and actually released the other 2 because he was no longer prosecuting on gang violence and organized crime. So with that said, she got up there. She delivered a powerful speech. She knows firsthand how dangerous Democrat policies, particularly bail reform, are to communities. And it was an honor to just meet her and be in her presence.
Well, let me get your reaction then to this audio. This is the governor of New York yesterday on CNN saying that the people who attended that rally are clowns. Take a listen.
Well, I'll tell you, it won't make a difference at all, Jake, and that is for Donald Trump to be the ringleader of and invite all his clowns to a place like the Bronx. New York will never, ever support Donald Trump for...
You know, the idea that she would sit up there as a governor of New York and then call her own constituents clowns, I mean, that's something that I didn't even think Kathy Hochul would do.
I know. Well, you know, this is the same governor who, like 2 weeks ago, basically said that kids in the Bronx don't even know what a computer is. Meanwhile, they're carrying one in their pocket. It's called a cell phone. You know, at the end of the day, this is the elitist, typical liberal bigotry of low expectations that we see far too many times since.
Yeah, big time. So you've also mentioned that when people go to rallies like this, that there's obviously a voter registration effort underway as well. Can you tell us about that? When people are showing up, when you're looking at 20,000 people appearing at a rally in the Bronx, how many of them are asked, are you registered to vote?
Well, we're making it a concerted effort to ensure that every event we do, that every outreach we do, that basically every rally we do is somehow centered around registration and get out the vote, because it's not enough to just register voters, particularly for the Republican Party. We have to make sure they're actually showing up and getting to the polls. We're training hundreds of thousands of poll workers, poll watchers. If you're interested, go to the RNC website for more details. You know, the campaign and the RNC have effectively merged, and we've taken that over. You know, they are no longer 2 different entities. We feel very confident that with Laura Trump at the helm of the RNC, that, you know, we are going to be doing everything we can to get this man back in office and also supporting America First candidates down ballot. And that's very, very important to the president, that we unite and basically defeat the Democrats in November. Because if we don't, Vince, I'm afraid of what this country is going to look like.
Lynne, can you talk about the composition of the crowds that are attending these Trump rallies, not just the one we saw in the Bronx? Because I'm seeing media coverage. For instance, Axios today described last night's rally as, quote, a crowd that looked very different than the typical MAGA flock. New York Times said in front of him, as in Trump, was a more diverse crowd than is typical. of his rallies. And you just heard that CBS clip make the same claim. Has that been your experience on the road with President Trump?
It's been my experience since day one. I think what's striking to everybody is that, the poll numbers now match the diversity that they're seeing. Trump has over 22% of support in blacks. Biden has dropped from 90% to basically 60% of black support. But, at the end of the day, and I think President Trump said it the best, whether you're black, white, gay, straight, women, man, Asian, Chinese, whatever your race might be, we're all Americans, and we're all suffering from the same, drop in life that we have under Joe Biden,
Yes.
as opposed to where we were on DJT.
Yeah, and President Trump, of course, over the course of his successive elections, has convinced more people of all colors to support him. What has been the big driving force now, though? This seems like this is the most watershed moment yet. I mean, there's so many people heading in his direction. Why is that?
Well, I think, his message to basically coalition groups is clear. If you want safe borders, if you want safe neighborhoods, if you want secure borders, if you want safe neighborhoods, if you want an end to, rising crime, if you want, job quality, if you want school choice, then vote for Trump. It's not rocket science to know that the open border crisis is plaguing underserved communities. The billions in foreign funding going to Ukraine continue to put black and brown Americans last. And folks are waking up to this. And that, we're making sure that they understand Trump has been in their corner since day one. There's really no modern day president who's done more for these communities than Donald J. Trump. They know this. They know that unemployment for black Americans and Hispanic Americans was at an all-time low, for women as well. And they know that they had more money in their pockets. They were able to put food on their table and gas in their cars. And they simply want this back, just like every other American voter in this country.
Yes.
They're no different, and they know that the only candidate who's capable of doing that is Donald J. Trump. Why? Because he did it before.
Lynne Patton, what role is the trial that he's being subjected to in New York right now playing in all of the political data we're seeing?
Well, the Biden trial, we call it the Biden trial. It's a full frontal assault on American democracy. But I think what people are seeing for the first time is that they're actually turning on their TV, and what Donald Trump has been screaming from the top of his lungs is finally making sense. When they turn on the TV and see an American president sitting in a courthouse from 9:30 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, while his poll-plummeting opponent crisscrosses this country, free and able to do whatever he wants in battleground states that, by the way, he's still losing, I think for the first time it's really resonating that this is election interference, that this is a bookkeeping entry case. This has nothing to do with hush money, despite what the media tries to spin it as. President Trump did not control the books of the Trump Organization, nor did he make direct entries in them. In fact, he was already serving as president in Washington, D.C. at the time these entries were made in the books. But even if he wasn't, we stand by the fact that these entries were accurate and that they were, nothing improper was done. And the payments made to Michael Cohen were for his legal work and do not fall under the media's misrepresentation.
Mm-hmm. So what happens next week if the jury arrives at a conviction for President Trump? I was saying earlier in the program, I feel like there's really no political downside for President Trump. Obviously, the left is ravenous. They're going to try and rig this election any way they can, right, with whatever levers they can. But my view is that even if there's a conviction, in fact, that may even spur more support for Donald Trump. What do you think is going to happen?
Absolutely, and that's what we've been seeing on all four indictments. But at the end of the day, Vince, I'm no lawyer, so there's certainly things I can't comment to. But what I will say is that the only crime that prosecutors have been able to prove is the fact that there wasn't one, other than committed by Michael Cohen and basically Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen admitted to not only being a confessed perjurer and felon, but also to actually theft and fraud right there on the witness stand. He was also caught lying to jurors. It's one thing to be pegged and arrested for perjury in the past, but to actually lie to the current jury from the witness box was unprecedented. It even blew the minds of CNN commentators.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it's opening a lot of eyes, big time. Lynne Patton with the Trump campaign. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Vince. All right.
Nice to chat with you.
Bye-bye.
Let me take a phone call here. I've got Scott calling in from Castleton, Virginia, line 1. Scott, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Thanks
Scott.
for taking my call.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
I just wanted to say that, I watched the rally last night a little bit. It was awesome for a Trump supporter. There are good things happening. The cases are falling apart. His poll numbers seem good.
Mm-hmm.
These rallies just seem to get more and more revealing with the types of people that are going to the rallies. I mean, it was huge last night when I was watching it.
Yeah.
That all of these different people were together. There was no crime. There weren't any riots. But as Trump supporters, we still got to play like we're behind. I mean, we have to crush this election so much and get so many voters out there on our side that no matter how much they cheat or whatever fraud is there, it won't matter.
Yeah. President Trump has a phrase for this. He was using it last night. Do you recall what it was?
Right offhand.
He said, too big to rig. He kept saying, make it too big.
Right.
to
Right.
rig. And that is the key. That is the key. It's got to be overwhelming. You have to put so many points on the scoreboard.
Right.
They can't even catch up by playing with the numbers.
Right.
I don't know why you're
conservative commentators that everybody's kind of been saying that, like Dan and you and Chris and other people. But yeah, too big to rig. I forgot about that. Sorry.
Don't apologize at all. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. No, but it was a long one too. It was like an hour and 20 minutes. You can't remember every phrase. Hey, Scott, thank you very much. And his phone call was breaking up a little bit there. That was strange. That's probably the left interfering. All right. Hey, Corey, are you going out the boat this weekend? You on the boat? Yeah, Corey's on the boat this weekend. It's going to be nice tomorrow, right? Yeah. All right. So Corey's getting out on the boat. So if you see a huge Trump flag on the Potomac, give him a wave. Honk your horn. Let me take a call. I've got Mark calling in from beautiful Virginia Beach, line 2. Mark, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hello again there, Vince. From beautiful Virginia Beach, Norfolk, home of the world's greatest Navy. I just want to compliment you, along with Larry O'Connor. The both of you together bring the most substance to the radio with your guest speakers. They're well-informed. They help the American people who listen make intelligent decisions. We don't run off half-cocked. We're informed. And it's because you and Larry, your producer, and the owners of the station have chosen to be way above the ordinary. So I thank you for being there for us.
Well, Mark, that's a really nice call and a perfect thing for me to send off to my bosses so they stay happy with me. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Hey, remember the veterans. Remember the homeless veterans and remember all those that died so that you can bring this to us and so that we can enjoy the freedoms and liberties that we have today.
Amen. A great message going into Memorial Day weekend. Thank you very much, Mark. I really appreciate that. Let me see here. I was going to play audio. Should I play the audio of the Turkish guy? He's on the border. It's ridiculous audio. Here, this is an illegal immigrant who just made it into America.
Did you have to pay a cartel?
Yes.
How much?
Around 10,000.
10,000?
Yes. In fact, the American people is right. Completely true. Who come into this country, they don't know. Well, okay, I'm good, but how if they're not good? How they're killer, psychopath, else? No guarantee of that. Why, like no security, no security check, no background check.
No security check, no background check. You're worrying about who's crossing the border?
Yes. Of course, me, because I'm like, people are not look normal.
People are not normal. This guy, he illegally immigrated like 6 seconds ago. He's in our country now, and he's looking back and he goes, this has to stop. Why are people doing this? I have no idea who's even coming into our country. I'm like, this is not your country. You got here like 4 seconds ago. You're illegal. Yeah, we need a border. Can we get a border back, please? Even the illegals know we need one. Hey, have a very great Memorial Day weekend. The great one, Mark Levin, up next.